All right, guys, UFC 305 just ended, and I'm going to go over all the fights on this card, my thoughts. I'm going to give you my thoughts on everything that happened. And yeah, let's start with Stewart Nicoll and Jesus Aguilar. As you guys know, I picked Jesus Aguilar, probably one of the most solid underdog picks on this card. And yeah, this dude straight up went and got a first round finish. Who would have thought? You know, I thought Stewart Nicoll may be a decent prospect, but as I told you guys, it's really difficult to gauge the level of guys who haven't fought in the UFC before. Stewart Nicoll looked promising in his regional fights, but as we saw today, he got fully slept by Jesus Aguilar. The guy did not tap. The fight literally only ended because Jesus Aguilar was telling the ref that, hey, this dude's asleep, like, you should call the fight. And so the fight gets called. All you see is Stewart Nicoll's limp arm just like on top of Jesus Aguilar. And yeah, he gets up and Stewart Nicoll drops. Kind of an epic moment. But anyhow, Jesus Aguilar won, guys. Solid win. I think I was like one of the only people who picked Jesus Aguilar. I don't know. You guys let me know. Next up, we have Kenan and Ricky Glenn. Kenan was probably like one of my locks on this pick, along with like 3 other people. As I told you guys, Ricky Glenn wasn't looking that good in his previous fights. He just gave Preston Parsons vibes. You guys know Preston Parsons versus Obon Elliott. It was the same kind of deal, it felt like. And Kenan pretty much just ended up piecing this dude up all the way till the end. And it just got worse. Like, Ricky Glenn progressively started looking worse. He kind of already looked like Frankenstein, but then Kenan gave him a huge shtushka on the side of the head, and that side of his face just started getting battered, and he started looking more and more like Frankenstein. Anyways, he lost to Kenan. I don't have much else to say about that fight. Let's move on to Tom Nolan and Alex Reyes. So Tom Nolan was somehow minus 1,500 underdog. Like, I don't understand who came up with those odds. I don't understand who was favoring him so much, because he like barely won that fight. Like, he won, yes, but by maybe I think it was the end of the first round, he dropped down to a minus 600 favorite, which is like, probably what he should have been in the beginning, if not less, because he didn't do that well. I don't think Tom Nolan is that good. Alex Reyes kind of found a little bit of success grappling with him, but not really. I just don't think that Tom Nolan is that good yet. I think he'll get there, but his performance was a little bit underwhelming, not gonna lie. And even in his previous fight, like, he won, but I just wasn't that impressed. So I'm actually just really surprised he was so favorited to win. And to be honest, it was kind of shocking that he struggled so much against Alex Reyes, a guy who only had 2 fights since 2017 that he lost. He lost both those fights. And I'm sure, when the UFC was making the odds, they were also considering that, and they were saying, oh yeah, Tom Nolan's gonna smoke this dude. So fight went to decision. I don't know what else to say about that other than, I guess, yeah, Tom Nolan's new. He'll get there. I think he's gonna be improving, but as of now, he's just a little bit sloppy and not that impressive, not that inspiring. Let's move on then to Jack Jenkins and Herbert Burns. Guys, so we all knew that Herbert Burns was a quitter. Okay, we all kind of knew that. We all knew that he only looks good in the first round, if that, the beginning of the first round. And that's kind of what happened. He looked pretty decent in the first round. I think he got I think he had a few good moments. He had like 2 takedowns. He obviously, couldn't complete either of them. Like, he couldn't do anything with the takedowns, once he got them. And he kept just falling on his back anytime Jack Jenkins hit him with anything. He just kept falling on his back to avoid getting hit, and, basically just waiting for the ref to stand him back up. It got to a point where it just looked extremely embarrassing, and then he even kneed Jack Jenkins in the balls. Like, it was just such a bad look, guys. Like, there were I think at the end of the second round, the fight ended with Herbert Burns just on his back as he was doing for the entirety of the fight. It was just such a bad look. And then in round 3, I think it was, Jack Jenkins ends up giving him a fucking hardcore ground and pound. And I think he broke his orbital bone or something because right after Jack Jenkins beat him, Herbert Burns was just lying there and he just gave up. Like, literally just, the fight ended, I guess it was a TKO, but it didn't end with Jack Jenkins on top of him. It ended with Herbert Burns lying there in the corner and the ref just saying. So, if you guys thought that Herbert Burns was a quitter, now it's confirmed he is the ultimate quitter. The ultimate quitter. I think he should just stick with the coaching, as I said, because, you know, his technique is good. He just can't do anything with it, unfortunately. So yeah, maybe Herbert Burns should retire. I think he should. I think he's also, like, not the youngest at this point, so I think retirement calls, you know. All right, let's move on to Casey Oniell versus Luana Santos. Also an epic underdog pick, guys. I picked Casey Oniell, as you know, and I understand the Luana Santos hype train. You know, she's a good prospect. She's 24. She looked solid in her previous fight with Maria Agapova. But as we know, Maria Agapova isn't the fighter she used to be. And Luana Santos won that because, you know, she wasn't fighting the Maria Agapova we all used to know. She was fighting some washed up lady that showed up unprepared and made poor decisions in the octagon. And so, as I told you guys, Casey Oniell is a Maria Agapova. She's a strong lady. She's not going to let Luana Santos ragdoll her. She's not going to be able to submit her, really. Like, also, I've seen Casey Oniell's grappling. It was pretty decent. And considering the fact that she's a brown belt, Luana Santos is a black belt, she did really well against her. But basically where she found success was on the feet. Luana Santos had no answers for her. Casey Oniell just kept jabbing her and throwing hands, throwing these 1-2s. It was just working out so well for her. And yeah, any takedowns that Luana Santos attempted were defended against very well by Casey Oniell. So Casey Oniell won, guys. Casey Oniell won. And you know what, guys? She looked tougher. Like, she looked tougher going in. She looked prepared. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Let's move on to Josh Culibao versus Ricardo Ramos. Guys, let me tell you about this. Initially, I picked Josh Culibao in my prediction video. But on Friday, I watched the weigh-ins, and as some of you guys know, and I made a second set of picks that were just purely based off of the vibes at the weigh-ins. And Ricardo Ramos was one of these people that I saw at the weigh-ins, and I said to myself, you know what? He, for some reason, looks like he's gonna win. Even though initially I was like, oh, dude, this guy just not. He's a bad matchup for Josh Culibao. He's not gonna do well. And I think he was just the tougher guy. You know, he got his leg injured in the fight, and Josh Culibao didn't do anything with that. You know what I mean? Like, if I was fighting, and my opponent had a leg injury, you know, they injured their leg in the fight. I think both of his legs were injured. I would be like, oh, I can go all in because this guy has a vulnerability that I can take advantage of. Josh Culibao didn't do anything with that, basically. He tried, kind of, like, but Ricardo Ramos was switching stances, you know, trying to avoid his legs getting kicked. And he did really well in the grappling department, guys. Like, he did really well. And it was round 3. By this point, I was thinking to myself, well, it could go either way. And then Ricardo Ramos manages to get it on the ground again, wrap himself around Josh Culibao, and end that round on Josh Culibao's back. He won that by split decision, guys. He won that by split decision. And this is why from now on, I'm going to be making vibe picks, and I'll let you guys know about that later. All right, guys, let's move on to Junior Tafa and Valter Walker. I didn't really get a chance to watch much of this fight because my Wi-Fi cut out, and by the time I reconnected, it was around the end of the fight. I saw Valter Walker on top of Junior Tafa. Then they did a little spin. I think he had a heel hook on Junior Tafa, and Junior Tafa just screamed, and I guess that was considered a verbal, you know, verbal tap. So he got the verbal tap. Valter Walker won that because, Junior Tafa decided to scream. I don't know. I feel like most people wouldn't do that, but I understand if his ankle got broken, foot got broken. I don't know. But, I picked Junior Tafa. I didn't get to see the beginning of the fight much, so I don't really know exactly how Valter Walker looked. From what I saw, it seemed like all he was doing with his grappling was just lying on top of Junior Tafa up until, they started rolling and Junior Tafa's foot broke. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not impressed by Valter Walker by any means still. And Junior Tafa as well. You can't scream. Look at Ricardo Ramos. Two leg injuries. Just fucking kept going and got the win. Junior Tafa, a little bit of a quitter, I would say. A little bit of a quitter. But, alright, anyways, let's move on to Jingliang and Carlos Prates. I picked Carlos Prates, guys. The guy who looks unassuming. He even looked unassuming during the weigh-ins, so I will always be making exceptions for him. Because somehow I think it's his face. I don't know. He always just looks like he's kind of going to lose. I think my Wi-Fi also cut out here because I didn't see... Oh, yeah, I didn't see this fight. I'm not sure why I didn't see much of the other one. Actually, no, I left during the other one. Sorry, this is where my Wi-Fi cut out. I basically just saw the end where Carlos Prates got his hand raised, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know Jingliang was also kind of out of commission, I think, for some injuries, and yeah, I don't know. Carlos Prates is just better. I don't know what else to say. I don't really watch the fight fully, so anyhow, let's move on to Tai Tuivasa versus jairzinho Rozenstruik. Oh my god, guys. Well, I gotta applaud Tai Tuivasa for at least pushing through and not quitting, because he was losing from the get-go, essentially. As I thought he would, he was losing pretty seriously, and he just kept trying and kept fighting. He did get some good shots in because he kept moving forward, but as I said, jairzinho Rozenstruik is too fast for him. His cardio was solid. Tai Tuivasa, I think he's just a little too fat. Like, he couldn't quite kick his leg up high enough. Everything he was throwing was taking an immense amount of energy. You could just see it. And, guys, jairzinho Rozenstruik is just better. He's a really solid heavyweight. Ever since his fight with Shamil Gaziev, I knew that, there's got to be a problem for most of the people in the division because most of the people are just, another thing is Tai Tuivasa knows he's not that good. In his interview with Nina Drama, he rated himself a 3 out of 10 as a fighter. So yeah, I don't really know what to say about that. But yeah, I mean, it was a pretty easy decision for jairzinho Rozenstruik. So yeah, let's move on now to Mateusz Gamrot versus Dan Hooker, guys. So I picked Mateusz Gamrot. I thought that he'd be more successful in his grappling, but it turns out that Dan Hooker just has really good defense and didn't really let him do anything with it. But I also told you guys that I last week during my predictions, I told you guys I have this really weird feeling, and I don't know where it's coming from, but I have this feeling for some reason that Dan Hooker is gonna win, based on nothing. You can go watch my previous video, and I also mentioned it during my stream that I have this feeling like Dan Hooker is gonna win. And what happened? Dan Hooker won, guys. But also, I think he was doing better than Gamrot on the feet. He was finding a lot of success there. There were moments where Gamrot was kind of beating him, sure, but Dan Hooker just kept getting back up and not minding any of that at all. Honestly, it was a pretty serious brawl between these two, but, he lost the decision just because, Mateusz Gamrot lost the decision because he just, couldn't do enough. He didn't complete any of his submission attempts, obviously. So, I think now, these days, if a striker has really solid grappling defense and also solid output on the feet, then they can basically counter these really good grapplers. And that's what happened to Mateusz Gamrot. He just got fucking countered. And, yeah, I still think he's really good. A lot of people were saying, oh, well, he's just another grappler that's not that good. I still think he's good. It's just that he'll be good against fighters that have below decent defense abilities, okay? So, yeah, that was that. Next up, we have Kai Kara France, guys, and Steve Erceg. I picked Steve Erceg, and you know what, guys? During the pre-fight press conference and the weigh-in, Steve Erceg looked... I mean, he always looks kind of uninspired, timid, like he doesn't really want to be there, like... But this time he looked a little bit worse. He looked like he knew he was going to lose. And Kai Kara France, obviously, you know, we saw his energy in there. We saw what he looked like during the face-offs. We saw the face that he made. And even on my vibe picks, I was almost going to pick him, but, like, I let my bias side still choose Steve Erceg because I was like, oh, well, he always looks like that, kind of like Carlos Prates. But apparently not. Kai Kara France obviously wanted it more. I think it goes to show that someone's desire for winning and just brute strength and toughness will trump someone's skill and ability, because Steve Erceg looked really good against Pantoja, but he just doesn't have that grit yet. I don't know if he ever will, because I think that kind of comes from someone's upbringing maybe and how they grew up or the life experiences that they had. And it just seems that Steve Erceg, I don't know, didn't have like a super tough life. I'm sure his dad's a good coach. I think his dad coaches him. I'm sure, you know, he's good. He's skillful, but against fighters like Kai Kara France and Alexander Pantoja, he's just gonna lose. So he lost. Yeah. All right, guys. Now let's move on to the main event. The last fight on this card, Dricus du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya. I initially picked Israel Adesanya, and then I basically immediately went back on my pick. Sorry, but that's kind of what happened. A bunch of things started coming out about Israel Adesanya. I started watching all of this media, and instantly I was thinking to myself, oh no, I can't pick Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya is not going to win with this mindset. He's not going to win the way he's showing up to this fight. He's not going to do it. I really like the way Dricus du Plessis was talking at the press conference. He seemed like he was prepared, aware, determined, and so he showed up to the fight with all of these things, just kept fucking going, kept really smartly getting these takedowns and finding these moments. And in the end, I think it was round 4. Was it round 4? I think it was round 4, maybe 5. I think it was round 4. I don't think it went to the 5th round. I don't know. I don't remember this. But Israel makes a mistake. Dricus du Plessis ends up hitting him in the head 3 times with his right hand. Izzy falls. Dricus quickly wraps himself around him and submits him. It was so freaking epic, guys, because I wasn't really sure actually to who each round was going to. I think except for round 2. Round 2 I think was for sure going to Dricus, but besides that, I actually was having a hard time telling who was winning. And I really wanted to see Israel Adesanya humbled, because he's got that kind of ego that's just been blown out of proportion, to be honest. And I think it's kind of good to not have a huge ego as a fighter. First of all, because I think having a huge ego makes it so that you overestimate your own abilities. Like, Israel Adesanya was just constantly talking about how great he was. He's good, yeah, but, you know, greatness, I don't know, man. I think anyone that considers themselves as great puts a limit of where their evolution is gonna go as a person and as a fighter. And I think that's kind of what Israel Adesanya did. However, you know, I think after this fight, especially after the speech Dricus du Plessis gave, like, he showed a lot of respect to Izzy. I think Izzy liked that, and they were able to, like, kind of be friendly with each other at the end. Like, they both held each other's hands and raised it in the center of the octagon after, which was kind of cute. Whereas, you know, like, if Israel Adesanya won, he would have just done some fucking, like, TikTok fucking dance or some shit over Dricus or something. If he got a KO, he would just do a dance over his body. You know, not the most, like, respectful thing, not the most cool thing. Whereas, you know, Dricus du Plessis went in there, was like, dude, Israel Adesanya is a champ. He's a winner. One of the best people in this division, you know, one of the best fighters in this division. I don't think these are things Izzy would have said if he won. So I'm really glad that Dricus won. I think it was an epic moment, because I think he's a really genuine dude, and I think he deserved it. So Really happy about that. Anyhow, guys, that'll be all. As you guys know, on this channel, we end off every video with the Chama Bowl. And we're going to do that now, just to wrap it all up. I'm going to say one last thanks to everyone who showed up to the stream. Everyone was very supportive and cool. It was a fun card, guys. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for hanging out with me. And also thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. For some reason I feel like I give a really boring recap this time. I apologize. I don't know why. Sometimes we have those days. But yeah. I think it's because my mom came home when I started talking to her, and then I just kind of like forgot about the whole fight. Anyhow, guys, thank you for sticking around again, and I will see you on my next prediction video for next week. Otherwise, if you're a member on this channel, I'll see you tomorrow or Sunday, which might be today, depending on when this video comes out. I guess today anyways, it's Sunday. So anyhow, guys, I'll see you later. Bye.